The story begins with Kamishiro making the same old commute to do the same old job every single day of his miserable life. He was always told that a routine-filled life would lead to happiness, but deep inside there was a small part of him that wanted something different. One day, Kamishiro looks closely at a strange scene on his TV, and to his shock, he suddenly gets teleported somewhere. A mysterious man appears and says that he is the one who manages the solar system, which makes Kamishiro wonder if that means he's an alien. The man explains that he's closer to a god and shows Kamishiro a planet called Matthias. This planet has failed to thrive no matter what they do, as civilizations on Matthias keep dying out every now and then, and this failure has gone on for too long. So, the god has decided to do something more drastic. He will give this planet a single drop of water, because even just one drop can create giant waves capable of changing the entire planet. Surprisingly, he has chosen Kamishiro to be this drop of water. In Kamishiro's eyes, this is quite the responsibility, but the god explains that Kamishiro isn't alive anymore anyway. If he doesn't go, he will simply vanish along with his soul. To make the deal better, the god offers to give Kamishiro special powers. He starts by giving him magic and maxed out mana, but he also wants to know what else Kamishiro desires. Hearing this, Kamishiro instantly goes from skeptical to excited, and boldly declares that he wants cute partners to join him on his quest. Much to his delight, the god assures him that he will meet them in time, and then he continues adding even more powers. He strengthens Kamishiro's search ability and makes it possible for him to earn money by selling materials. He provides him with a handbag to carry all his gathered materials, and also grants him the ability to understand every language in the world. To bolster his defense, the god gives Kamishiro several resistances. Just then, Kamishiro begins to disappear, which means it's almost time for him to leave. The god briefly wonders if he gave Kamishiro too many abilities, but it's already too late to go back. However, he does express concern when he sees who Kamishiro's partner will be, and he questions if it will really be okay. This naturally makes Kamishiro freak out, but there is no time for an explanation. The god simply tells him that he will be fine, and moments later, Kamishiro wakes up in his new world in his new body. Unsure of what exactly he's supposed to do, Kamishiro decides to look for a place with people, and eventually finds a village. However, he quickly realizes that he won't be able to buy food without any money. Just then, he remembers that the god had strengthened his search ability so he could find materials to sell. When Kamishiro activates his search magic ability, nothing happens at first, which disappoints him. Then he realizes he was pronouncing it wrong, so when he says it correctly, little symbols pop up everywhere. These symbols show him where materials are located, and when he uses the word scan, he can see even more detailed information about them. Kamishiro is thrilled to have such helpful abilities, and he can't believe his luck when the very first material he gathers turns out to be B rank. He continues gathering materials from the areas marked by his ability, but most of them turn out to be low ranks. Still, he remains motivated until he finds a strange-looking stone that catches his attention. He thinks it might be valuable because of how pretty it looks, but to his confusion, it turns out to just be a turd, though somehow it is labeled as C rank. Even though it's disgusting, Kamishiro is still pleased, because now he understands that the things he can sell are categorized by different symbols, and he can find them easily with his search ability. With his bag now full of materials, Kamishiro can't wait to see how much money he can earn, so he rushes into the village. At the gate, the guard assumes that Kamishiro must be a knight because of his tall and imposing stature, but Kamishiro corrects him by saying he's just a seller of materials. The guard, who introduces himself as Marlowe, explains that this would make Kamishiro a gathering specialist, which is quite rare. He also tells him that while they don't have a specialized material store, they do have a general store. Kamishiro goes straight there, and to his surprise, the shop owner becomes amazed when Kamishiro shows him the turd. The man identifies it as the feces of a hammer anteater, and is extremely impressed by its shape and color. He even praises Kamishiro for doing such a great job finding such an exquisite item, and offers him 5 gold coins for it. Kamishiro has no idea how much that's worth, so the shopkeeper explains that one night at an inn costs 500 raves, and 1 gold coin is worth 1,000 raves. Doing the math, Kamishiro is shocked to realize that this man is willing to pay the equivalent of $400 for a piece of turd. The shopkeeper gets overly excited when Kamishiro accepts his offer, even rubbing the turd on his face in admiration, which horrifies Kamishiro. After that, Kamishiro shows him the rest of his haul, and the shopkeeper can't believe Kamishiro collected it all by himself. He wonders why someone would bring such great items to a shop in the middle of nowhere, and Kamishiro simply says that he enjoys traveling while gathering different materials. Impressed by his skills, the shopkeeper asks him for a favor. There's some mythal ore located in a nearby mountain, and he wants Kamishiro to retrieve it for him. Always up for an adventure, Kamishiro accepts, and the shopkeeper pays him 360,000 raves for all of his items. When Kamishiro does the conversion, he nearly faints, realizing that it's almost $25,000. Before he leaves, the shopkeeper warns him that there are monsters on the mountain, but expresses confidence that Kamishiro can handle it. Before setting out, Kamishiro spends the night at an inn, where a girl brings him a bowl of water that costs 30 raves. When she explains that it's to clean himself with, Kamishiro is shocked. He would much rather take a bath, but to his dismay, the girl tells him there are no baths in town. Only sorcerers can clean people using magic, but there aren't any around here. Hearing the word magic gives Kamishiro an idea, so he pays the girl and, once alone, tries a few words. When he says, "clean," the magic activates, and moments later he finds himself cleaner than he has ever been in his entire life. This makes him realize that he can perform all kinds of magic as long as he finds the right words for it. On his way to the mountain, Kamishiro begins to get the hang of things, and for the first time he encounters a spade symbol. Curious, he goes to investigate, but is horrified to find that it marks a skeleton. His ability is even able to show him the name of the person who died and their rank. Next to the skeleton, Kamishiro finds a family amulet, and his ability shows that it was made by the man's mother. When he opens a letter inside, he finds it's from the man's sister, urging him not to push himself too hard. Feeling a sense of responsibility, Kamishiro buries the skeleton before moving on. Later, he sets up camp, creates a barrier around himself, and prepares a stew using the herbs he collected, even adding some seasoning. When he tastes it, he's amazed at how delicious it is, and declares that getting isekai'd was the best thing to ever happen to him. Eventually, Kamishiro reaches the Forest of Ancient Dragons, a dangerous place filled with monsters. He uses light magic to see the symbols around him, but notices there are no ores or animals nearby. He wonders if it's because he smells bad, but decides not to worry, since it means he won't get attacked. However, just as he sees the end of the forest, he realizes too late that the ground beneath his feet has disappeared, and he plummets off a cliff. While falling, Kamishiro frantically cycles through every word he can think of, but nothing works. Float doesn't work. Levitate doesn't work. But when he finally says fly, the spell activates, and he manages to land safely. He's ecstatic to find ore symbols all around him, and he eagerly begins gathering as much as he can. Still, he doesn't find any mythal ore until he notices a faint symbol deep within a mountain wall, saying, "Blaze." He fires a fireball to break through the wall and finally discovers the ore, though there isn't very much. Suddenly, the cave starts to shake, but instead of leaving, Kamishiro decides to explore further. Going deeper, he comes across a strange pool of water clearer than anything he has ever seen. Scanning it reveals that it's double S rank, making it the most valuable thing he's found so far. The scan also explains that the water contains the magical element of an ancient dragon, which means a dragon must live there. Kamishiro doesn't worry about that and prepares to take some water. Before filling his container, he decides to test if the water is drinkable by taking a handful. Just then, a massive dragon emerges from the water, furious that Kamishiro didn't respond to him. In disbelief, Kamishiro faces the terrifying beast, but the dragon is surprised as well. Kamishiro is able to withstand his overwhelming presence. Kamishiro quickly apologizes for intruding, and the dragon is impressed by his courage. Kamishiro introduces himself as a human, though the dragon finds that hard to believe, since he felt such an overwhelming amount of mana from him, enough to rival even his own. The dragon introduces himself as Valdius, the ancient dragon, and reveals that he has a request. Acknowledging Kamishiro's purity and strength, Valdius believes he might be able to awaken his child, whose egg refuses to hatch. To motivate him, Valdius offers a large amount of mythal ore as a reward. He shows Kamishiro the egg and instructs him to pour his mana into it, just like when he created light earlier. Kamishiro says heat to warm the egg, but as his power surges, he realizes something is wrong. Suddenly, his body is pulled into the egg, and he panics, thinking he just arrived in this world and wanted to see more of it before dying. But instead of dying, he finds himself in a strange place where a girl appears, calling him reckless. At first, Kamishiro thinks she might be the god from earlier, but soon realizes she's someone else. The girl explains that she's been meddling with this planet for tens of thousands of years, but Kamishiro caused a massive ripple in just one day, which she doesn't like. Before he can ask more, she simply sends him away. Kamishiro is confused when he returns to the world, but relieved when he sees that the egg has successfully hatched. Valdius asks him to name the baby dragon, though Kamishiro hesitates at first. Valdius explains that the child already has its true name, and he just wants Kamishiro to give it a common one. Kamishiro agrees and names the baby dragon Black. Valdius tells Black to explore the world freely, and the newborn dragon immediately joins Kamishiro's party, though Kamishiro points out that Black was just born and questions whether it's safe to send him with a stranger. Valdius isn't worried. He assures Kamishiro that he's stronger than even him and feels safe leaving his child in his care. As a reward, Valdius shoots a beam at Kamishiro's bag, filling it with mythal ore, before saying goodbye. Overjoyed, Kamishiro formally asks Black to accompany him on his journey as a gatherer, and the little dragon happily agrees. Kamishiro couldn't be happier, and before setting off, he even uses magic to clean up his new stinky little companion. After giving Bee a good bath to get rid of its stinky smell, mainly to protect his own poor nose during their upcoming adventures, Takaru exits the cave with the cheerful baby dragon buzzing excitedly around the forest. Watching Bee flap its tiny wings and dart through the air, Takaru decides it's better not to travel at night and instead sets up camp for the evening. Feeling hungry, he prepares to cook and pulls out a flask of magic elemental water. As he looks at it, he recalls how V once connected his bag to the magic lake, allowing him to easily draw food and water for Bee whenever needed. Bee eagerly drinks from the flask, then adorably asks for more. So Takaru gives her another cup, only for Bee to offer that cup back to him, insisting he drink some too. Amused, Takaru takes a sip of the refreshing water, feeling instantly revitalized. Next, he sets down a few glowing magic stones and casts a protective barrier around them. As he watches the stones shimmer, Takaru remembers how rare and valuable they are in this world. Yet he casually uses them like disposable batteries, simply because he can create more with his own mana. He sighs and admits to himself that he's probably the only man who can waste precious magic stones just to make dinner easier. Heating one of the stones to act like a portable stove, Takaru begins cooking steak and stew, his favorite meal. Bee watches in awe, her eyes wide and sparkling as the smell fills the air. When the food's finally ready, Takaru notices Bee drooling, though he worries whether human food might upset her tiny dragon tummy. Testing a small bite on her, Bee instantly burns her mouth, squealing in pain. Laughing, Takaru cools down the food by blowing on it like a doting parent and feeds her again. This time, Bee eats happily, tail wagging as she fills her belly and curls up in satisfaction. Watching the little dragon roll around lazily, Takaru wonders aloud why she doesn't seem sad about being separated from her father. In response, Bee simply hugs him, or rather, wraps around him with her tiny wings, and Takaru smiles, realizing she's genuinely happy living with him. Curious about her potential, he checks her stats and nearly chokes when he sees that this supposedly baby dragon already ranks as a powerful B-class creature with multiple elemental abilities. Still, Takaru reminds himself that even strong kids need guidance, so he scolds her gently, warning her not to do anything dangerous. Midway through his lecture, Bee falls asleep, snoring softly. Takaru sighs and wonders whether the space manager paired him with a reptile partner just to test his patience. The next morning, Takaru climbs up the mountain and returns to the forest, pleasantly surprised at how peaceful it looks in daylight. While Bee plays nearby, he uses his search skill to find herbs to sell, but before long, Bee flies back trembling with fear. Activating his detection skill, Takaru senses several monsters approaching. He realizes that after washing off his monster-repelling stench in the cave, he's now fully back on the menu. Deciding to get some monster loot anyway, he prepares for battle, and almost immediately, a ferocious rock falcon screeches behind him. Takaru turns, unimpressed, calling it adorable compared to that nightmare meatball from last time. Spotting the bird's plump body, he grins and mutters, "Guess we're having KFC tonight." As the falcon charges, he forms an ice shield and fires sharp icicles, turning the giant bird into a neatly frozen chicken dinner. Then come the serpent wolves, lean, fast, and very bitey. One lunges at him, but Takaru activates his speed enhancement skill, leaps into the air, hardens his legs with mana, and delivers a skull-crushing kick straight down. The others fall just as fast. When a sneaky wolf tries a back attack, Takaru casually knocks it away with one hand, muttering that even Earth's mosquitoes were more annoying. After collecting meat and monster materials, he senses even more enemies nearby and groans. "Seriously? I'm not running a meat factory here!" Not wanting to spend all day fighting, he plans to retreat, but before he can, Bee swoops in, grabs him, and tries to lift him into the sky. Takaru laughs, thinking there's no way the tiny dragon can lift him, until it actually does. Shocked, he quickly casts a weight reduction spell to make the flight easier. B flaps furiously, rocketing upward, and before Takaru can say NASA, they're soaring through the clouds. Too high! Too high! He shouts, and B, taking it literally, panics and drops him. Thankfully, he lands safely, waking up with B licking his face. Looking around, he realizes she's flown them completely out of the forest. He praises her speed and strength, but gently reminds her not to overdo it next time, since he's not as durable as she is. Delighted by the praise, B tries to hug him, and instead, headbutts his stomach. As they continue walking toward Tormi Village, B notices a strange branch in Takaru's hand. He explains it's the Yggdrasil branch, an SS rank legendary artifact he's had since his first day in this world. Sadly, it's been inactive this whole time, but when B blows a puff of smoke on it, the branch glows to life. Takaru stands frozen, wide-eyed, as the dormant relic awakens. Excited, he holds it up like a staff and jokes that he finally looks like a proper magician instead of a wandering herb seller. Suddenly, a growl echoes from the forest, and Takaru warns B to stay alert. But before he can stop her, the baby dragon zooms off toward the sound. Chasing after her, Takaru finds B circling a tree where a young elf girl lies unconscious. He wonders if a monster attacked her, but her rumbling stomach answers the question. She's just starving. The elf weakly asks for water, and Takaru immediately hands her some from his magic bag. She gulps it down, sighing in relief, then shyly admits she's still hungry. Remembering his leftover lunch, Takaru gives her a sandwich, which she devours like a wild animal. Watching an elf, a creature he thought would be elegant and graceful, scarf down food with crumbs flying everywhere, Takaru is stunned. I thought elves were supposed to eat flowers or something, he mutters. The girl thanks him between bites, calling his food divine. He laughs awkwardly, saying that even stale bread tastes heavenly when you're starving. She insists she's feeling much better now, though she can't believe how quickly she ran out of supplies. Takaru scolds her for leaving the village so carelessly without food or a map. When he points out that she smells more like a compost heap than a flower field, the elf gasps in outrage and storms off, embarrassed and offended. After she disappears into the trees, Takaru shrugs, muttering, "Guess I'm not getting invited to the Elf Kingdom anytime soon." He gathers more materials on his way out of the forest, and soon spots a carriage approaching. As it nears, he notices it's pulled by an elegant E-rank unicorn horse. The driver, a friendly man named Poron, greets him and asks what he's doing out here alone. Takaru explains he's heading to Tormi Village on foot, which surprises Poron. His wife Eliza and their 2 kids peek curiously from inside the carriage. Seeing the staff in his hands, Poron assumes Takaru's a magician, but he waves it off, saying he's just a gatherer. Impressed, Poron insists he join them on the ride to Tormi. At first, Takaru refuses, worried his size will break the carriage, but the kids beg him to come. Giving in, he sits at the back, though his huge frame makes the entire cart wobble slightly. Poron laughs, teasing him about his size, while his kids giggle nonstop. Feeling embarrassed, Takaru apologizes, but Poron assures him it's no problem and says he's glad to help a fellow traveler. When Poron's daughter Yunan offers Takaru a handmade gift, he's touched and asks why they trust him so easily. Their son Kin proudly explains that if Takaru were dangerous, their magical bell would have alerted them. Looking at the enchanted item, Takaru quietly thinks he could make one even better. Soon, B starts moving inside his bag, making strange noises. The kids hear it and ask what it is, so Takaru awkwardly admits it's a pet. Eliza tells him it's fine. Adventurers often travel with tamed monsters, so he lets B out. The children immediately fall in love with the adorable black dragon, petting her nonstop. Poron and Eliza are speechless. Dragons are incredibly rare, yet here's one sitting on their laps. To hide the truth, Takaru lies that she's just a normal black dragon, definitely not an ancient one. The family assumes he's a dragon knight, but Takaru laughs, explaining that he simply found and hatched a random egg. Poron nearly drops his reins in shock, exclaiming that hatching a dragon egg alone is practically impossible. Curious, Takaru asks Eliza how rare dragons are, and she explains that even dragon knights are rare, but real dragons are nearly mythical. Takaru grins, thinking it's just like one of his favorite RPG quests come to life. Later that night, they stop to rest. Takaru sets up a protective barrier using magic stones, and Poron feels relieved knowing no monsters can get close. B patrols the area like a tiny guardian, making the family feel even safer. When Eliza starts preparing dinner, Takaru offers to cook instead. Pulling out his portable cooking set from his bag, the kids gasp in awe, thinking it's magic. But Takaru chuckles and says it's just bottomless storage. Soon, the delicious aroma fills the camp, and everyone eagerly digs in after Takaru gives the signal. The kids are instantly delighted, while Eliza praises the flavor. Poron stays silent for a moment, shoulders trembling, until he bursts into tears, snot running down his face, crying, This is real food! He wails about all the bland dried meat he's been eating on the road, making everyone laugh, including Takaru, who can barely breathe from giggling. After dinner, Poron takes out a guitar and strums a cheerful tune while Eliza sings softly beside him. The kids dance around, and Takaru joins them, playing with B and laughing freely for the first time in ages. Watching the warm family share music and joy under the starlit sky, he remembers his lonely life back on Earth. Feeling deeply grateful, Takaru looks up at the shimmering night and thinks that maybe, just maybe, this icy sky world has given him a new chance at happiness. With B curled up beside him, softly snoring, Takaru lies back, smiling at the stars, ready for whatever adventure tomorrow might bring. The next morning, while B and the kids were still fast asleep, Takaru cleaned his scissors. Curious about why he was up so early, Eliza asked him what he was doing. He explained that he was taking care of his gathering tools. She nodded, praising his dedication to his job, and walked away. Holding his scissors, Takaru thought about how he had originally become a gatherer out of necessity, just to earn money. Yet now, he truly enjoyed the work. Nearby, Poron informed him that they would be leaving after breakfast. Takaru requested to drive the carriage this time, and Poron agreed. Taking the reins, Takaru enjoyed the feeling of riding the beautiful unicorn as Poron noticed that they were getting close to their destination. With B sitting comfortably on his lap and countless treasures packed in his bag, Takaru felt a surge of excitement at the thought of returning home. After getting off the carriage, he thanked Poron for the ride. Poron waved it off casually before leaving with his wife and kids. Guarding the town's entrance, Marlowe commented that spring must be close since Poron was returning to town. Curious about Poron's job, Takaru learned that the merchant spent the winter traveling to sell warm clothes and returned home when the season improved for hunting. Remembering Poron's joyful smile while eating simple meat, Takaru realized how lucky he was to be able to gather valuable materials with just his ability. As Marlowe reminded him about Jerome's task, Takaru remembered to visit the shopkeeper. Inside the shop, he handed over the materials he had collected during his trip, secretly mixing in some magic mythical ore. Jerome carefully examined the ores before asking how Takaru had acquired such legendary materials. Seeing Takaru's confusion, Jerome explained that just a few pieces of magic mythical ore could contain more magical power than all the magic stones available in their kingdom. Realizing that he had accidentally revealed an incredible secret, Takaru acted nonchalant and claimed that he just happened to find the ore lying around. However, Jerome wasn't fooled. Even if it was luck, he noted, it still took skill and courage to retrieve such a rare and dangerous material. Thinking that Takaru's talents were being wasted in a small village, Jerome suggested he visit Belkane, a large city filled with guilds, merchants, and knowledge. He told Takaru that if he could make Tormi village famous in the city, he would attract more customers. Although Takaru had no plans to become famous, he did feel excited about exploring a bigger city and seeing more of the world. After leaving Jerome's shop, Takaru returned to the inn for the night. Flipping through a book, he searched for information about the guild Jerome had mentioned. He discovered that Bilim had an adventurer's guild where travelers from all backgrounds gathered to exchange goods, services, and information. While the guild members were called adventurers, not all of them were fighters. Some specialized in supporting roles, like gatherers or artisans. Learning this, Takaru felt a growing desire to explore more of the ice sky world and meet new people. He decided to visit Belka to expand his potential and earn more money. Before heading out, he prepared for the long journey while staying in Tormi. During those days, Takaru attended a lively town festival where everyone shared food and drinks. He smiled as B played with a group of kids who ran up to greet the dragon's kind master. Enjoying the village life, Takaru continued gathering materials during the day and preparing processed seasonings at night. The woman who usually handled his materials told him that the villagers would miss him once he left. Takaru admitted that he was also sad to leave such kind people, but insisted that he wanted to explore the bigger world beyond Tormi. Seeing his determination, the woman stopped trying to persuade him to stay and instead handed him a large bag full of food for the road. Thinking he would have nothing to eat on his long trip to Belim, Takaru thanked her warmly, but she wasn't done yet. She kept stacking more and more bags in his arms until he had enough food to feed a small army. Shocked but grateful, he accepted everything. Later that evening, he sat in his room holding the magic mythical ore that Jerome had refused to buy. Wondering what to do with the powerful material, Takaru pondered for a while. While B, tired of thinking, lay down and reflected on the villagers' kindness. Deciding that he wanted to repay their generosity, Takaru came up with an idea for a useful gift. Sitting down at his table, he placed the magic mythil and a lantern beside each other. Focusing his mind, he created a spark between the two items and successfully fused them together, creating a magic lantern. The next day, as Takaru prepared to leave the village, all the villagers gathered at the gate to say goodbye. After greeting them, he handed the magic lantern to Marlo. He explained that the lantern carried a spell that would generate a barrier around Tormi, protecting it from any kind of threat. Marlo was humbled by the incredible gift, but Takaru insisted that it was only fair to repay the village for their kindness. He asked Marlo to keep the village safe until his return, and Marlo told him that he was always welcome back. Just then, Jerome interrupted their heartfelt farewell, taking the lantern in his hands and asking if Takaru had somehow created it using the magic mythil. Before Jerome could press further, Takaru ran off, leaving the shopkeeper shouting questions behind him. As the villagers waved goodbye, Jerome wished him good luck on his journey. A few days later, Takaru and Bee walked through a clear meadow, enjoying the peaceful scenery. Their relaxation was cut short when they encountered a giant land crab. Scanning the creature, Takaru learned that it was an omnivore that lived on land. Though most people thought the crab was too ugly to eat, his scan revealed that its inner shell contained delicious, edible meat. Excited by the prospect of a new ingredient, Takaru decided to turn the predator into dinner. He cast a hardening spell to boost his defense, while Bee flew up and unleashed a powerful sound attack that instantly knocked the crab unconscious. However, two more appeared, surrounding them. Cornered, Takaru thought the fight would be easy, since crabs could only move sideways. But to his surprise, they suddenly rushed forward. As their pincers came crashing down, Bee grabbed Takaru and flew him up, causing the crabs to smash into each other. As they fell to the ground, Takaru thanked Bee before turning back to finish the battle. When the first crab got back up to attack again, Takaru used his staff like a baseball bat and sent it flying with a powerful swing. Once all the crabs were defeated, he hardened his hand into a makeshift knife, chopped off their legs, and exposed the meat. Placing it all into a giant pot, he added salt for simple seasoning. When the pot began to bubble with the aroma of freshly cooked crab, Takaru and Bee eagerly peeled away the shells and tasted the tender meat. Both of them fell in love with the flavor, and Takaru told Bee that they would continue exploring for more delicious delicacies in the future. After a few weeks, Takaru finally reached the big city of Beltsum. Staring at the towering border walls, he was amazed by the city's advanced architecture. Before entering, he learned that Belka was a medium-sized city in the Beltsum Kingdom, known for its thriving agriculture and forestry industries. He was even more surprised to discover that Belka was home to the continent's largest adventurers guild, where people from all over the world gathered to trade, work, and share information, earning it the nickname, the City of Commerce. As he approached the gates, he noticed a long queue of people lined up for inspection. When it was finally his turn, Takaru used a small concealment spell to hide his storage bag, and told Bee to stay hidden while the guards inspected him. Inside the inspection room, Takaru handed over his bag, surprising the guards when they saw that he was a gatherer. They asked if he had come to sell his items, but Takaru explained that he wanted to join the Adventurers Guild. The lead guard nodded in understanding and welcomed him to the city, but said he would need to use a spell called Avils to check whether Takaru was trustworthy. The guard held up a magic mirror to scan Takaru's stats and quickly approved him after seeing nothing suspicious. Curious, Takaru used his own scan on the mirror and discovered information about the guard instead. Trying again, he found that the guard's mirror could only reveal his name, age, and some other basic details. Nothing that would expose his secrets. Relieved, he listened as the guard suddenly asked why he possessed a dragon's blessing. Deciding to tell the truth, Takaru revealed Bee, his baby dragon. The guard nodded in recognition, but instructed him to mark Bee as his partner so that people could identify it within the city. Rummaging through his bag, Takaru pulled out a bracelet he had received from Poron's kids and gently placed it on Bee's tail as a marker. Happy with the new accessory, Bee flew around in excitement, while the guard explained that he would have to inform the city's mayor about the dragon's presence. The assistant returned Takaru's bag, and the guard finally welcomed him into the city. Passing through the dark border walls, Takaru and Bee were briefly blinded when sunlight poured in from the other side. They found themselves standing in a bustling city filled with noise and life. Bee pointed toward the direction of the guild, and together, they made their way there. Inside the guild hall, they found a large crowd of adventurers gathered in the spacious interior. A bunny girl receptionist named Ariana greeted Takaru warmly and handed him a registration form. Takaru wondered if he could write in the world's foreign language, so he wrote his name in Japanese. But a magic skill automatically translated it into the native language of the world. Once he finished, Ariana glanced over the form and asked if he had ever fought any monsters as a gatherer. Calmly, Takaru replied that he had fought chimeras, hellhounds, and giant land crabs. Skeptical, Ariana asked for proof. He hesitated since the monster bodies were too large, but she assured him that even large parts would be acceptable. With her permission, Takaru reached into his bottomless bag and pulled out an entire land crab, which crashed through the table under its massive weight. The terrified receptionist stumbled back as a nearby beastman noticed the commotion and cast a spell called Abel to scan Takaru. After finishing the scan, the beastman asked where Takaru had gotten his bottomless bag. Takaru explained that it had been a gift, and the beastman nodded, satisfied. He told Ariana that Takaru was safe, explaining that the Abel spell could detect evil intent. Once the checks were done, the beastman told Takaru he could sell his meat now. But Ariana reminded him that they were still in the middle of his registration. The man asked why Takaru was carrying around a giant crab, and Takaru casually replied that he planned to have it for dinner. His nonchalant response left the entire guild stunned, but the beastman simply shook his head, ignoring Takaru's odd tastes. Then he asked if Takaru was alone, and Takaru pointed to B. Noticing the baby dragon, the beastman laughed, surprised to see such a rare creature partnered with a gatherer. Watching the scene unfold, the other adventurers began talking among themselves, intrigued by Takaru's unique potential. As the crowd pressed in, Ariana quickly pulled him away to a private room to finish his registration in peace. Once everything was finalized, she handed him an adventurer's band, explaining that he would start as the lowest F rank. Takaru accepted the band, and B chirped happily, excited that they now had matching accessories. With their new roles secured, the dragon and his master clinked their bands together, ready to embark on a new adventure, eager to see what exciting futures awaited them in this vast world. A few peaceful days later in Beltsim, Takaru finally tracked down the family of the deceased adventurer he had found in the woods. The family, stricken with grief, listened in silence as Takaru gently assured them that the man had not suffered in his final moments. He handed them a letter written in the adventurer's final hours, heartfelt words meant for those he loved most. Ballura's father, voice trembling, thanked Takaru for returning his son's belongings, but in the middle of his gratitude, a painful cough racked his body. Concerned, Takaru immediately noticed the unnatural sound in the man's breathing and recalled that Ballura had been desperately searching for medicine to cure his father before his untimely death. Originally, Takaru had intended only to return the possessions, but moved by the man's condition and Ballura's love for his family, he decided to heal the father himself, channeling his gentle magic to ease his suffering. After fulfilling this quiet act of kindness, Takaru made his way to the Adventurers Guild, where he submitted a batch of rare herbs he had collected on a quest. The guild clerk was delighted with his results and praised his growing reputation. From around the corner, Ariana appeared, looking slightly sheepish as she greeted him. With a wry smile, she asked if Takaru could handle the mountain of gathering requests that had piled up, all of which were addressed directly to him. Thanks to his newfound popularity in Beltsim, Takaru scratched his head awkwardly and replied that he could only manage a few at a time. After carefully choosing some simpler quests, he decided to treat himself to a well-deserved break and headed to the local public bath. He fondly remembered the first time he had visited it. Back then, it was filthy, practically a pigsty. Thanks to his powerful cleaning magic, the place was now transformed into a pristine hot spring. Sinking into the soothing water, Takaru sighed in contentment, finally allowing himself to relax. But his peace was short-lived. A large, scaly figure entered the bath. It was the lizard-man adventurer, Clay. Grinning, Clay mentioned that his old injury had started to act up again. Remembering the sick man he had healed in the slums, Clay began to question Takaru about his unusual healing abilities. Takaru, trying to remain modest, explained that he merely mimicked the techniques he had seen real healers use. Clay, impressed yet amused, noted that Takaru hadn't taken any payment from the family he helped, praising his generosity. Takaru laughed awkwardly, admitting that real doctors might be angry with him for providing free healing and potentially hurting their business. Clay chuckled at his innocence, shaking his head. Then, his tone grew serious. He asked why someone as powerful as Takaru chose to stay at a low adventurer's rank. Takaru explained that he simply preferred to stay low profile. Clay, however, warned him that being too humble might actually draw even more unwanted attention. With that, the lizardman stood, advising Takaru to learn the unspoken rules of the city before leaving. Later, after finishing another quest, Takaru returned to the guild. The clerk once again brought up the idea of him raising his rank, but Takaru politely declined. Aware that the guild mainly wanted to assign him more difficult and troublesome tasks, he felt a bit guilty, but valued his peace of mind more. Suddenly, chaos erupted as a panicked adventurer burst through the guild doors, warning of a massive goblin attack. The guild master immediately called all adventurers ranked D and above to arms, assigning the formidable A-rank lizardman, Clay, to lead the defense. Takaru quietly tried to slip away, hoping to avoid being dragged into the battle, but the guildmaster spotted him and insisted he join one of the strike parties. Once everyone was assembled, the guildmaster briefed the group on their mission to defend the Stavov Plains. Watching the other adventurers roar with passion and excitement, Takaru sighed, feeling completely out of place. Two beastmen sneered at him, mocking his timid appearance and warning him not to get in their way. Before he could respond, the guildmaster approached, intrigued by Takaru's growing reputation. He mentioned that even Grit, the strict guild appraiser, often spoke highly of him. A rare compliment indeed. The beastmen were stunned, while Takaru silently wished people would stop praising him so much. The guildmaster smiled and told him to protect those he cared about before departing, leaving his assistant, Muselli, to accompany Takaru. Muselli apologized for her master dragging Takaru into battle. Though she was only a low-ranked adventurer, her eyes gleamed with excitement at the chance to prove herself. But when they arrived at the battlefield's camp, her courage faltered. Surrounded by monstrous roars and the stench of blood, Muselli trembled in fear, clinging to Takaru. Placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder, Takaru gently told her that it was okay to be scared. He explained that she didn't need to fight directly. Instead, she could use her healing magic to support the others. No one likes to fight unless they must protect someone, he said softly. His words gave her courage. She smiled weakly, nodded, and ran off to assist the healers. Watching her newfound resolve, Clay appeared beside Takaru, laughing and teasing him for his inspiring speech. When Takaru asked why Clay wasn't fighting, the lizard man admitted his old wounds still hurt. He then asked Takaru if he saw him as a coward for retreating once before, but Takaru replied sincerely that someone could be injured in the back while protecting others too. Clay was taken aback by his words. Their conversation was cut short by smoke rising from the front lines. The formation had been breached. Clay, despite his injury, grabbed his spear and charged forward. Takaru tried to stop him, but Clay insisted he couldn't abandon his comrades. Moments later, Takaru saw Muselli still tending to the wounded. Inspired by her bravery, he decided to act. Pulling out his Yggdrasil staff, he cast a powerful barrier around the healers' camp, shielding them from the oncoming goblins. As the astonished healers watched, he told them he was going to help Clay and dashed toward the front. When he arrived, the battlefield was chaos. Adventurers struggled to hold the line until Takaru struck a goblin down with a single blow. Though he hated harming others, he knew he had to fight to protect his friends. B, sensing his hesitation, spread her wings and unleashed a powerful lightning spell, obliterating the goblin horde in an instant. The adventurers cheered, thanking Takaru for saving them. He quickly asked what had caused the attack to spiral out of control. They explained that a goblin sergeant, a rare, elite type, had appeared, breaking their formation. Clay had helped many escape but stayed behind to hold the line. As rain began to pour, Clay fought valiantly, but soon collapsed, his old wound throbbing painfully. Just as the goblins closed in for the kill, B swooped in, frying them with lightning. Takaru rushed to Clay's side, insisting they retreat, but Clay refused, determined not to abandon the others. The goblin sergeant lunged at them, forcing both men to dodge. Clay shouted that he would hold them off, but Takaru, instead of fleeing, asked whether his back wound carried any good memories. Confused, Clay admitted it didn't, only pain. Hearing that, Takaru took out a vial of magical dragon water and splashed it onto Clay's back, then raised his staff to cast a healing spell. The pain surged through Clay's body as his wounds closed, and suddenly, his form began to change. His scales darkened, his muscles expanded, and enormous wings burst from his back. In disbelief, Takaru watched as Clay transformed into a massive black dragon. When the stunned lizardman asked what Takaru had done, Takaru admitted he was only trying to heal him. Empowered by his new form, Clay roared and charged back into battle, effortlessly decimating the goblin army. After the battle, the guildmaster approached Takaru, asking if he had been responsible for awakening Clay's true power. Takaru nodded modestly, and when questioned about the lightning that scorched the battlefield, he clarified that it had been B's doing. The guildmaster, wary of Takaru's hidden abilities, chose not to pry further and rewarded him handsomely for his efforts. That evening, Clay, now back in his lizardman form, angrily confronted Takaru, demanding an explanation. Takaru awkwardly claimed ignorance, saying it must have been the dragon water. When Clay asked what that was, Takaru explained that it came from the ancient dragon V's cave, B's father's lair. The mention of an ancient dragon left Clay speechless. When he asked why Takaru would waste such a precious item on him, Takaru simply replied that he wanted to save a friend. Moved yet bewildered, Clay pressed further, asking how Takaru had managed to alter his race entirely. Takaru explained that he visualized Clay's nervous system, allowing the energy to flow naturally, a concept that left Clay completely dumbfounded. Realizing there was more to Takaru than met the eye, he asked about his true identity. After some hesitation, Takaru finally confessed that he was from another world. Clay stood frozen in shock, but eventually believed him, having witnessed his miraculous powers firsthand. He then revealed that his lizardman race descended from the noble Dragonute bloodline, and that Takaru's dragon water had awakened it. Although thrilled to inherit his ancestors' legacy, Clay admitted he was struggling to control his newfound strength. Takaru cheerfully told him he'd get used to it in time, an offhand comment that earned him an exasperated glare. Annoyed by his carefree attitude, Clay decided to punish him by making him obey his commands for the rest of the day. The next morning, life in Belchim had returned to normal. Watching the bustling streets, Takaru smiled, grateful for the city's resilience. With B perched on his shoulder, he walked into a weapon shop, curious about improving his gathering tools. The shopkeeper, a young woman named Ribble, greeted him warmly. The story begins deep in a quiet forest, where a middle-aged man named Tojima is training alone, punching a tree with sheer determination. Every strike echoes through the woods, a reflection of the passion that still burns within him after all these years. The reason Tojima trains so intensely is rooted in his childhood, a time when he was deeply inspired by his favorite superhero show, Kamen Rider. As a little boy, Tojima was so obsessed with the show that he would skip meals just to watch it. His mother often worried about him not eating enough, but seeing how much joy and excitement her son found in watching his hero fight evil, she felt comforted knowing that he wouldn't feel lonely while she was away working. Those moments before the TV were magical. Little Tojima's eyes sparkled as he watched the Kamen Rider punish the evil organization known as Shocker with unwavering courage and justice. The young boy's heart was filled with admiration, and from that moment, Tojima decided that when he grew up, he would become a hero just like Kamen Rider in real life.